Hello and welcome to Wednesday's episode of What the Fans Say. Hope you all are doing really well. So first of all, I just want to say, obviously, the Bradley Lowry Foundation says thank you to the Millwall fans. It says we'd like to say a huge thank you to the Millwall Football Club fans who have very kindly donated £162.54 to our charity. These funds were collected before entering the Stadium of Light away end for Millwall's recent visit on the 29th of March. It says, of course, what a lovely thing to do. Just another amazing example of how clubs can come together for a greater good. Fantastic. So this is what the fans have been saying. Alan says, well done, Millwall fans. Michael, well done, Millwall fans. Brian says, big respect. Peter Reid, I don't know if it's the Peter Reid, says, well done, respect to Roy Larner. Alan says, respect, and I like you even if you don't care. Jeff also says, well done, Millwall, respect. John says, great effort, that. And Joan Buddy says, well done, Millwall fans. Kevin says, top people, thank you very much. John says, things you don't hear from Millwall, good things, well done indeed. So, yeah, that is absolutely bang on from Millwall there. And Sunderland's boss, Regis Labrie, has urged fans to manage expectations for the remaining games of the Championship season. And the fans have been saying, Sean says, no chance of getting automatic promotion, so a great chance with the gap to 5th place to rest the likes of Hume, Neil, Rigg, etc. Get them 100% fit for the playoffs. Paul says, I don't expect them to be half cocked as they have been the last few games. Steve says, expectation is getting hammered by Coventry at their place in the first leg. There's a few replies to that one. Cliff says, Steve, hopefully we'll meet Bristol in 2 legs of the playoffs, so not a bad result if we lose to them Friday. Get them in 5th spot. Gary's also says, rest the big players so they are fresh and energised for the playoffs. It could give us the edge in these tight big games that are coming. Jim says they still won't listen. Hudson says, just watching the Newcastle match and hope we don't go up. I hate to say it, but without spending a lot of money and getting recruitment spot on, we would be relegated by Halloween. Wow. So that's a statement from Hudson. So on other stuff as well, Enzo Lafay being pulled over by the police near Gateshead. I don't know what that was actually about, but Aidan says, looking for 3 points. Nice one, very clever. Jack says, we're meant to be putting points on the board, not on your licence, Enzo. Paul reckons it's a fancy camper van. David says that must be a modified G-Wagon, never seen one with a roof like that before, and the orange beacons match the interior. Joseph says the road below the flyover looks like that is close to traffic. Nick Durham says it was Tommy Watson 2 hours ago. And Keith says as long as there's not another one losing his licence. Liam says, I've seen a last driving that in Newcastle Saturday at dinner time. Paul says, if they give him 3 points, can he bring them to the next game, please? Oh, my goodness me. And, of course, Regis Labrie has defended his decision to rotate his Sunderland side ahead of the playoffs and insisted he's not worried at all about his players' ability to switch back on come the end of the regular season. Excuse me. And the fans are saying, John says, it's really poor for those excuse me, paying on the day to watch us just muck about and go through the motions for 90 minutes. But I get it, and hopefully it pays off if we do get to Wembley. Lewis says, no issues with it at all. We've seen how it went versus Luton, having loads of injuries. Let the lads rest, then 3 cup finals to play. Jamie says, let the rest tire themselves out for the remaining spots and we can get the legs back. I must be missing something. Why do people think killing ourselves in the next couple of games to still be in the same position either way is the right method here? He says, we've needed to rest for a long time. It's been a tough season, a long season for everyone, especially at the top. He also says, I'm baffled by some of these comments, but again, I'm used to it now. And he says, such a unique luxury that we can do it, and all other clubs would be very envious that we can do this. Which is a good point, that, because the fact like all the other clubs are still playing for the playoffs, we don't have to. Neil says, did you ask him why he's playing Watson? That is disappearing. He's off to Brighton. Joe Bellingham will return to Sunderland squad at Bristol City on Good Friday, with Dennis Cirkin having been penciled in for Easter Monday appearance against Blackburn. The fans have been saying he won't make a difference, to be fair, says Brian. Gary Johnson wants to know, is there any news on Ballard? And Rory says, we need to rest Joe Bellingham as much as we can. And also on the press conference, Labrie says Joe will be available. Yeah, he will be available on Friday, but he will not start. Steve says 7 games of the season left and only 3 of them can get us promoted. If we win the playoffs, no one will care about the mediocre few weeks, and if it doesn't, we will still finish 4th regardless of what else happens in the next 4 games. Given the chance of playing Bristol in the playoff semi-final, I would put half the 21s out and play a different system on Friday just to keep my cards close to my chest. Everyone else around us is going hell for leather just to maintain position, so hoping this all works out in the long run. Paul says, I'm buzzing at the thought Cirkin and Lefay will be on the bench with Samed and Helder starting. It's like asking Miley Cyrus out and ending up with a date with Pat Butcher. Love it. Robert says, I don't give a hoot about any games now but the playoffs. Pest says, if they don't play due to rest, will they be able to for the run-in? Playoffs, no momentum from not playing. Could be a good point. Donald says, don't put Samed in, offers nothing for the team. Paul says, I wouldn't play either until the playoffs. In fact, I wouldn't even play Lefay or Rig either. Rig has looked knackered for weeks. All this talk about momentum is nonsense in my view. So there we go. That's what the fans have been saying on this Wednesday night. So from the Mac and CABBIE, have a great one. See you later.